Let's get back to our breaking news this morning. President Trump says he's open to delaying his self-imposed deadline on his massive mega domestic policy bill. The marathon vote in the Senate on President Trump's mega bill has now dragged on for more than 24 hours straight without a break. After weeks of negotiating and arm twisting, senators are voting on changes and trying to get it back to the House. The bill is the cornerstone of President Trump's agenda. With us now is Congressman Marlin Stutzman. He's an Indiana Republican and member of the Financial Services and Budget Committees. Congressman, nice to have you on. So we just heard President Trump say that he's open to moving the self-imposed July 4th deadline. Do you think that will have to happen?
Actually, Pamela, at this point, and not seeing the final Senate version, I think giving more time is a good thing. I'm a business guy, and one of the things I know is that, when you get a deal in front of you, the best thing to do is maybe sleep on it for a couple of days. And there's no reason to rush this just to get it done by July 4th. There's been a lot of changes in the Senate from the House version. I sit on the Budget Committee in the House, and I feel like we had a really strong bill coming out of the House, but between the Senate and parliamentarian, there's been a lot of changes to the bill.
And do any of those changes give you pause or cause any concern for you? Because I know our reporting indicates that Speaker Johnson is confronting a growing level of consternation in the ranks about some of these changes.
Yeah, the biggest one is just the deficit increase. I mean, we're already at $37 trillion in debt. Our deficits are at all-time highs. And it just doesn't seem like the Senate is serious about keeping the deficit flat. We already kept the rate of growth in the House version at 2.6% GDP growth. I think that's a fair number from historical data. I believe that we will grow. I believe that President Trump is right, that the Trump economy has the opportunity to grow at that 3% or maybe even higher, but we haven't seen that in a while. And so I don't think we should be banking on that. Let's just hope that we get things back on track and we can see an economy that's really growing.
And you talk about your concern over how much the Senate wants to raise the debt ceiling. I'm sure you've seen this new tweet by Elon Musk, who threatened to create a new political party and go after members of Congress who campaigned on reducing government spending, but then supported the budget bill, which, of course, will add to the national debt. You have said yourself, Congressman, spending is out of control. You've called it a national threat. Does Musk have a point here?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I'm glad Elon is saying something. And it's not just Elon. Jamie Dimon with JP Morgan just had comments in the past couple of weeks addressing the debt. Ray Dalio, another Wall Street guy who was actually in our budget committee testifying, saying that if we don't address the debt soon, heaven forbid there's a recession or some type of slowdown in the economy, then we're going to see some massive problems. So that's why this really is a great opportunity for us to reduce our debt and deficits. And I think that should be the overarching theme in both the House and Senate versions, that, especially with the Senate now coming to a vote today, that's where they should be going, and it doesn't appear that they are.
So from what you understand, given the committees you sit on, does this bill not have the votes right now in the House?
I don't see how it does. If they're going to raise the deficit that high, last number that I heard, it's roughly around $480 billion with the deficit. And again, we all know spending has increased dramatically over the past several years. But the other thing is with a slow economy, the government just doesn't take in the revenue that historically we're used to. And so that's also an important piece with the One Big Beautiful Bill, that we want to keep tax rates where they're currently at. There's a lot of good things in the bill that started in the House, but it seems like the Senate wants to keep the tax policy in the bill, but then they go back to adding spending and some carve-outs, which, again, we just know that Americans don't like carve-outs when it comes to these big bills that pass in Congress. And so it looks like Alaska may have one. We're going to be looking at the bill very closely, but having more time to look at it and make sure we get this right, I think is important.
I want to ask you about what's been going on among some of your colleagues in the Republican Party. You have Republican Congressman Don Bacon and Republican Senator Thom Tillis deciding not to seek re-election. Both lawmakers have split with the president. What do you think about that? I mean, is there no room in the party for dissenting voices like them, in your view?
No, I think there's obviously, you look at the Republican Party today, and it's very broad. But at the same time, I do think that there are disagreements with the president in the president's direction. I mean, the president, he liked the one big beautiful bill that came out of the House. I wish the Senate would have stayed on that track. But I know that there's also senators that aren't, big fans of the president. It seems like that's maybe what Senator Tillis is doing. It's not just between President Trump and Senator Tillis. I've heard a lot of other voices out of North Carolina that have been very frustrated with Senator Tillis. And here we are. Republicans have control of the House, the Senate, and the White House. We should all be working together as a team to get this passed. But it seems like there's more interest in special interest than there is in actually the American people's interest. And so I think that's what we're seeing in the Senate version, is that there's a lot of special interest at work that should not be part of this bill at this point.
And Senator Tillis, I'm sure you heard his speech on the floor. He says that his concern is about the Medicaid cuts and how it would impact his constituents in particular. Congressman Marlin Stutzman, thank you for coming on. We appreciate your time. We'll see how this plays out.
You bet. Thanks, Pamela. Appreciate you having me on.
Thanks. Wolf?
And coming up, a CVS Caremark